I'm not sure if you've watched the news recently, but the world is a very, very scary place. The news would certainly have you believe, between extreme weather events, fear-mongering leaders, nuclear threats, forgotten wars, and refugee crises, we're told almost on a daily basis that the world is a scary and foreboding place. The welcome mat is certainly not rolled out at this stage. You'd be forgiven for running away screaming back to your Sunshine Coast abode, hiding under the bed, and not coming out for a while. But whatever you do, whilst under the bed, don't pull out your computer and get on the internet, because what you'll find if you do that is that the internet is also a very scary place. It's full of trolls, scamsters, fraudsters, cyber stalkers, hackers, and other unsavory characters. So yes, avoid that at all costs. The world is a scary place, the internet is a scary place. Or so they would have you believe. That's not my perspective. I'm not going to throw away my computer, disconnect from the internet forever, because I believe it's really the source of opportunity. So let's change the perspective, shall we? I owe pretty much the amazing life I have to the internet and the opportunities that the world offers. I started my career as a disastrous teacher, having been very idle at school and even more idle at university. It was only after a career reset where I took a job doing data entry that I realized that computers were capable of, one could create things with computers, and that was an aha moment for me, and I've never really looked back. Friends and family who, well, certainly friends that knew me back then would never have guessed that 20 years later I'd be happily settled on the Sunshine Coast with a young family, having had a career spanning 6 cities and working as a tech startup guy and as an exec at Lonely Planet, which was the world's leading travel publisher. They certainly wouldn't have believed that I'd be quite as overweight as I am either, but that's a different story. So I want to try to talk about the positive opportunities that are offered by the world. I want us to do what we did at Lonely Planet, where our mission was to excite people about the opportunities that the world offered, to inspire them to take advantage of the amazing experiences that were on offer. And increasingly, I believe that the internet is an opportunity for young people to take advantage of that amazing life that they can live, overcome the sort of scary preconcepts that we have of the world as it exists today. The world is amazing, and the internet is your ticket to explore it. From catching big waves in Tahiti on a motorcycle, through to yak racing in Mongolia, idling through the world's great art galleries in Europe, drone boarding in Colorado, volunteering and helping others in Africa, following the world's most amazing festivals around the world, or just taking in the sights and sounds of nature in Africa. The world has an amazing amount to offer, and we spurn that opportunity at our peril, especially young people. That all sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Now, I guess the question is, how does the internet help us take advantage of those opportunities? Well, the answer is obvious. Never has it been easier. Services like Airbnb and Couchsurfing allow us to go and, for the first time, get really reasonably priced accommodation that isn't cockroach infested. We can share people's homes for a fraction of the cost that hotels used to cost us. Just about anywhere in the world, we can pull up a desk now at shared office spaces, collaborative spaces, where we can rent a desk for a day, a week, a month, a year, collaborate with others, meet new people, and continue to do work. With a global internet, Wi-Fi freely available, international cell phone networks, and tools like FaceTime, we can keep in constant contact with the people we love, our friends and our family. And finally, and perhaps most interestingly, as we move forward, there are a new set of services that allow us to offer our talents on a flexible basis and be paid for work that we can do over the internet in a way that can sustain this amazing set of opportunities that we have to travel and work at the same time. How, you might ask? Well, one thing I've noticed in my travels that I think is a little different to perhaps 10 years or so ago is when I see young people traveling now and doing these amazing things. It might be a holiday in Bali, I really notice it. The last time I traveled to South Africa, I really noticed it, is that increasingly when you see young people traveling, they're staying for longer, having a hell of a party and a great time, but have always got their laptops with them. And their laptops aren't just there for checking their Facebook feeds. Their laptops are there so that they can continue to be productive while they're traveling. This is the rise of what you might call the digital nomad, the ability to, through digital skills, international communications networks, continue to be productive, continue to earn money to sustain your travels and sustain these adventures, which after all is a lot of what life's about. This is what I call the digital nomad starter pack. The little blue book, a computer, a bank account, and the most important one, a set of skills. Let's start with the little blue book. This little blue book, most of you in this room will have, and it is a very, very powerful little blue book. It is the 8th most powerful passport in the world. It gets you into 169 countries without a visa, and allows you to do a working holiday in 40 countries, from Peru to Poland, from Uruguay to the UK to the USA. That little blue book. Let's party. The second is a computer. We've all got one of those. I'm not going to spend any time talking about them. The third is the little blue card. Money. Let's talk about money for a second. I think for a lot of people, the sort of experiences that I alluded to earlier, although extreme, the opportunity to travel the world and have these amazing experiences seems like a distant dream. It seems like something that only the moneyed elite are able to afford and able to take advantage of. But the reality is that's not true. It costs around $400 to fly to Hawaii. It costs about $60 a night to stay in an Airbnb in Hawaii. If you wanted to, you'd be able to, with some income coming in, do that for as long as your visa would allow you to do. Money is not really a barrier to going and exploring the world these days. The money side is very much linked to the skill side. The more you have of these, the less you need of that from your parents, because you can sustain yourself. So there's a real incentive for people to develop their skills if this is the kind of lifestyle that they'd like to take advantage of. So let's talk about those skills, because that's obviously the thrust. We're coming through a period where I think a lot of the adults in this room went through a process and had their talents assessed on a bunch of questions and a bunch of strange documents that told a fairy tale about their abilities. They were called CVs. And then there were a set of questions which, when you look at them now, look incredibly bigoted, which we used as a proxy for decision-making when we were trying to find people, talented people, to fill jobs that we needed to have filled. What school did you go to? What university did you go to? What qualifications do you have? Who have you worked for? How many years' experience do you have? These sort of questions which, without the ability to actually see the kind of work that you could do and assess your talents in a meaningful way, we constructed these filters, if you like. Of course, as a result, we made some absolutely horrendous hiring decisions. I mean, I got a number of jobs that I should never have got, purely on the basis that I'd gone to university, had worked for a couple of decent companies, and so on. On the flip side, lots and lots of talented people never got the opportunities that they should have got because they were excluded for some ridiculous reason, because they didn't, for example, they weren't the right age or gender or whatever it might have been. This is changing. The CV, too, is less and less important now. The question we're increasingly asking as people who are looking for talent is, what can you create with your computer? Now, the reason that's increasingly a question is, of course, more and more of our work is moving online. Our ability to assess your talents is increasingly easy because we're able to look at the digital output that you've produced. If you're a writer, we can read your entire canon of literary genius. If you're a photographer, we can look at your photography portfolio. If you are an analyst, we can read analysis that you've done in articles or blog posts that you've written. If you're a videographer or a video producer, we can, of course, look at your YouTube channel and so on. This is helping us to make better assessments about the kind of talent that you might have and the sort of skills that you do possess. Then, of course, we'll put you through a set of tests that will literally test to see whether these portfolios that you're showing us are in fact yours. And then we'll see whether you're a cultural fit in the organization, but we're not asking the same questions that we asked previously and looking at the fairy tale in quite the same way, because we can now actually make better decisions of the basis of your real skills and your real achievements. I think this is exciting for young people because for, I think, a lot of people over the years, they felt that even though they might have real talent, they were going to be excluded for some reason. I think now if you are able to build your skills and build a record of the things that you can produce and have that in a way that people can assess it, you can open up all sorts of interesting new opportunities for yourself. So what are you creating is the question. And the answer is there are lots and lots of different things that you might create with your computer. These are some examples of things that other people will pay you to create. And that, I guess, is the win-win between doing something creative and finding a sustainable way of living. You might create art, apps, analysis, designs, websites, videos. These are all things that today, armed with either just a computer and the skills, or a camera and a computer and the skills, you can start to develop monetizable skills that you can start to offer others to help them with their projects, get an income, and enjoy the kind of life that I've described. Now, many of the young people in this room may be saying, I've got this under control. That's exactly me. And if that is you, I'm very proud of you, and I'd like you to keep it up. If that isn't you, you might be asking the question, how? How do I build up this skill set? Where do I start? What do I do? I don't really know where to begin. I don't even know what I'm interested in. And I've just got a few tips that might help you. I think that's the age-old challenge that we all have, but a couple of tips that might be useful. The first one I'm going to start with is a question that I think you should ask yourselves, and perhaps you should be asking your kids, is how do you spend your time on the internet? Whereabouts on the spectrum of consuming content and creating are you on the spectrum? Are you down this end? In which case, we need to move you. We need to find a balance between consumption and creation. Again, you might ask the question, but what? What am I going to create? So I've got a tip there, and I think the tip is this. What are you doing on the internet? Are you playing video games? Are you watching surfing videos? Are you an online fashionista? Are you just listening to music the whole time? Those are leading indicators for where you might want to spend your time and where you might want to spend your energy. What you've got to think about is how do you flip that over? So if I love playing video games, how can I start to do something creative in that realm? Could be something very, very simple, like I could write some game reviews. I could become like a bit of a game guru, writing reviews about games. I might start sketching out some game concepts. I might develop the skills to start hacking away at a lot of the games that have extensible features. Or, might be very valuable, I might start to create my own games. An increasingly valuable skill because games are increasingly something that transcends entertainment and is part and parcel of the future of websites, for example. Similarly for surfing, similarly for fashionistas, people who love music. Move from consuming to the extreme to balancing consumption and creation. Next. How do I spend my time on the internet? We want you to be in the middle. Don't we, Snoop? Next question you might ask yourself is, what am I consuming on the internet? This is a little bit like the, I'm trying to remember the word, it wasn't diet, it was eating choices. This is like eating choices. Am I on a fast food diet? Or am I on a high fiber, healthy diet? You can see I know nothing about diets. What am I consuming on the internet? Do I spend my time just eating and drinking celebs? Whatever celeb A is doing, I'm all over it. I can discuss absolutely every aspect of their lives with my friends. We exchange 50 messages a night about what some idiotic celebrity did. Or do I have a balanced diet? Because if I'm just focused on celebs and that's all I consume, it's not a great position to be. I'm not going to be improving my skills if that's all I do. If I just follow my friends and I follow a bunch of celebs and all we do is comment on each other's selfies or the celeb selfies, I'm really not improving my skills. We obviously want to move to a more balanced position on this spectrum as well. A couple of tips here. Follow people who create stuff. Follow people who create stuff, and even better, follow people who create stuff and teach you their methods, their skills, the way they created things. That's extremely valuable. YouTube. You could, if you want to learn anything, absolutely anything, there is somebody on YouTube teaching that thing. It's the world's most incredible educational resource, and you really have no excuse. You want to learn something, there's someone teaching it for free, giving their hard-earned time and effort, painstakingly recording themselves, as nervous as I am in this talk, doing the same thing, teaching you how to do whatever skill it is that you might be interested in. An underused resource is Twitter. You hear about Twitter swaying elections and certain politicians' favorite tool of choice, but Twitter is the place where the world's most qualified, interesting, creative people share their ideas freely every single day. We take this kind of thing totally for granted, but let me tell you, just think to yourself, imagine what it would have been like living in the time of Da Vinci. And Da Vinci was out there each day, and as he had a brilliant idea, he would hop online and he would say, just had this idea, I'm thinking of this sort of helicopterish type thing. It's going to look like this, it's going to fly. I mean, that's what we are living in the modern equivalent of that. We have brilliant people, all connected, literally sharing every idea that they come up with each other on the internet. They use a platform called Twitter. It's a better place to learn, in my opinion, than Snapchat and Instagram. Use it, it's amazing. Instead of following celebs, follow neuroscientists, follow artists, follow inventors, follow creators. So, what am I consuming on the internet? Where do we want to be on the spectrum? We want to be middle, at the very least. Preferably, we want to be moving more towards the creator side. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up with this. Here's one of those silly CV things we were talking about earlier on the right-hand side here. It's increasingly a relic of the past. And hopefully by the time a lot of the young people in this room are looking for professional work, it will be a bygone relic. What's more interesting and I think more useful to people who are interested in creating stuff and are listening to this thinking, yeah, that's me, is we're moving to a world of show me, don't tell me. Don't tell me on your fairy tale CV about what you've done. Show me what you can produce. And in that sense, taking the effort to build up a portfolio of things that you've created that are relevant to the area that you're interested in is a really, really valuable thing to do. Even in the early stages where you might not be that good at it. One of the benefits of that is you show people over time how you've learned and how you've improved, how you've developed your skills, what your neuroplasticity is like. Can you learn quickly on the job? hang on, you haven't been to university and you've learned how to do that? How on earth did you do that? This tells a story. This is a really, really important artifact that I encourage everyone who's thinking that this is them to really focus on this. And there are some amazing places where you can build these portfolios and register a list of your creative achievements over time. So that takes us to the end of the starter pack. We've now got the little blue book. We've all got a bank account. We've all got a computer. And we're all going to build up our digital skills, aren't we? Our creative skills. Because once we've got those four things, the world is our oyster. Thank you very much.